A to the K.
To the K.
To the K. Hello. Did you miss us? Where have we been? Anthony, explain to the people. Explain where we've been.
Right. So, I've always prided ourselves on the fact that in the last 2 years, we've never missed an episode. And I knew the day would come that we would miss an episode, but I always just kind of quietly hoped that it'd be your fault, Carl. And that has not been the case, I'm afraid. So to those who are like, "Where's?" I listen to these every week. My week is now empty. I feel lost, untethered in this world. I'm sorry about that. I don't even know. I'm going to call it a chest infection. For those who
just
really
couldn't
care,
be bothered. That's what he said.
I did test negative for COVID, but I did feel rough as fuck with a bad chest. And I'm blaming, I'm not going to blame the Comic-Con, but it was after the Comic-Con. So,
I was at the Comic-Con. We still need to get that video
you
up
were
at some
at the
point.
Comic-Con, yeah.
We'll chat about that at some point.
Yeah, we'll have to have a chat, but that's again unfortunately delayed because of me. So again, sincere apologies to those who have noted our absence and are like, "Where the fuck have we been?" We're back. We're better than ever. We've got a knack for making things
just as good as always.
Yeah. But no, sincere apologies to Carl and to our listeners at home. But I'm back now.
Bombarded we were. Bombarded on the Instagrams. All over it. Where are you? Where have you been? All that. And
they all sound like that. It's weird.
And that was just me to Anthony. So you can imagine what the fans were like. I kid. But I'll tell you who isn't missing this week. The trusty Road Dogg. So we're going to throw it over to him for A2theK's little known fact of the week.
Oh, you didn't know?
So, believe it or not, talking about Survivor Series this week. A little bit late. But Randy Orton set a new record for the most pay-per-view matches at Survivor Series he did. But did you know he also boasts another Survivor Series related record, Anthony, as he is one of only 2 men to be the sole survivor for 3 consecutive years. He was the sole survivor in 2003, 2004 and 2005. The only other person to manage this feat was the late Ultimate Warrior, who managed to do this in 1988, 89 and 1990. Randy Orton just shattering records.
Incredible. I mean, clearly, listening to the voices in his head has done a good job for him, so keep it up, Randy.
I know. Maybe it's actually good advice to listen to the voices. So there you have it. Randy Orton, absolute ledge. And that was A2theK's.
Hasn't he also literally just broke a record for the amount of Raws or something as well?
Oh, he breaks them every day, this guy.
Record breaker, legend killer.
That's it. That's a share today. So that was A2theK's little known fact of the week, and here is Road Dogg's beautiful voice that you've had to miss for a week. So here it is, one more time.
Oh, you didn't know?
Beautiful.
Good to have you back.
So Anthony, let's kick things off with WWE. Let's talk Monday Night Raw for a couple of highlights. This one, I don't know, I kind of liked it. Keen to get your thoughts. The whole RK Bro stuff. So Riddle took it a step further this week, dressing up like Randy Orton with a fake goatee, little undies on and all that.
I love the way Riddle plays it because he's like, it is like that little brother kind of thing. I think it's brilliant, to be fair. Just from the off, straight, just the way Riddle plays his character part is fantastic.
Yeah, I think, this week stepping it up that extra level and kind of even dressing like him and stuff. And I like the way, to your point, that he manages to bring out that side of Randy that you don't normally see. So even him, hitting the Bro Derek at the end of the match and stuff like that. So, I enjoyed all that kind of stuff. And I thought the actual match, Riddle and Dolph, was decent as well. Was not a bad match at all, to be fair to it. So gets a highlight from me.
I agree. I almost don't want to see the inevitable Randy betraying him moment. Unless they're going to do a full swerve and Riddle turns heel, but I don't know how he plays a heel.
Yeah, that's a very... I hadn't even considered that, Anthony. I haven't considered that. So if that happens, you can get full dues for that. Cause...
Unless they play into both sides of his character and he turns heel and it just completely fucking forgets because he got high. Who knows?
Maybe. I'm sorry, Randy.
Anyway.
I just don't remember.
My next highlight, Carl, might be... I don't know. This isn't and is a surprising one, I suppose, because there was a time if you'd have put both of these names in a match together, you'd have gone, like, okay, I'll give it a watch, I suppose. But it was a really good match. I don't like where they're going with the US title scene by any means, but
No.
Priest versus Sami Zayn. Right? And the reason I don't like where they're going with the title scene is because obviously we teased the whole Apollo thing. Apollo is eventually going to have that match, and I don't really give a shit, to be honest with you. But Priest versus Zayn was a surprisingly good match. And I've said this for a while, a lot of people just don't like Sami Zayn for whatever reason, instinctively. Like, we put a TikTok up, as you do, Carl, of just his sort of career highlighted through the sort of morphs, and straight away with like, that's the context of our TikTok, and straight away the comments are like, this guy's an asshole, and you're like, what the hell? Like, no one likes him for some reason, but you can't deny he's very good at what he does. He's good at being an unlikable heel, for starters, and currently is an unlikable heel, so I get why maybe people are reacting that way in the comments, but on paper, you go, well, they're both really good in the ring, and Sammy's a really good character. This should be good, but I don't know. It still felt kind of surprising that it was good, if that makes sense. Have I made sense? I don't know. I might have stopped making sense in the time I've been off.
I mean, to be fair, you never made much sense even when you were on top form, so let's be honest.
A solid match from the pair of them.
No, I agree. I think the booking of Damian Priest as well on the main roster has actually surprised me, because I think it's been better than he was in NXT. I don't think that's ever happened for anyone ever.
I didn't like him in NXT. I really didn't.
Me neither. So
maybe that's the key. Maybe if you like him in NXT, there's no hope for them on the main roster. Maybe that's the actual aim. Like, how many people have they brought up from NXT that you didn't really like? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, not many, to be fair, but they brought up so many and then fucking ruined them, haven't they? So maybe that's the formula. Priest ahead of his time.
So now I've got to decide who I like the least in NXT, and that's the person that I want going to the main roster. That's what I've got to decide now.
That's it.
And it might actually be LA Knight at this point.
God, he's going to be an absolute star, I tell you. So the final highlight for WWE this week, Anthony. Keen to get your thoughts on this, right? Because it's very fucking polarizing. Because there's a lot not to like either. But Austin Theory, just him, not the angle he was in, not anything else like that.
I was going to say.
Austin Theory. You know, I've gone to bat for this guy and said I can see him as a future world champ, right? He's now doing stuff with Vince McMahon, so obviously they listen to the show, so they're trying that out, and I'm glad you listened to the show, Vince. I'm glad you're trying it out. You know, it may be a bit too soon. It's definitely good shit. It may be a bit too soon for him to be having a world title match. Let's be honest, right? But he's getting some airtime. He's starting to hone this, character. Yeah, it's a bit of a lame character, but, he takes selfies and stuff. And there's been some amusing stuff off the back of it, so it's not the worst. But in a time where
a character who comes out and takes selfies, I can't even imagine what that'd be like. That's so unique, isn't it? Like, it's never been done.
Shut up. But in a time when they need to make new stars because they just don't have any new stars, I feel like he can be someone who breaks that kind of the glass ceiling a little bit, grabs the brass ring or the golden egg. I'm
loving the fucking all the cliches you're throwing out there. Like, gonna break through as a star and smash the glass ceiling and grab that brass ring and enter the squared circle and
he's the goose that laid the golden egg and took a selfie with it. That's what I'm saying. But no, so we're gonna get onto to that stuff, which was bad. But Austin Theory gets a highlight for me because fair play to the lad. They brought him up, ruined him. That's usually, that's it, game over for a lot of talent. Sent him back down to NXT, got himself a little bit more, over, a little bit more time on the mic and in segments and stuff. Come up to the main roster, and he's looking sharper, he's looking better. So fair play.
Got his gimmick as the fucking yo-yo. Back to NXT you go.
Well, I mean, to be fair, his gimmick's the guy who was sleeping at the side of the ring for a few months because no one ever really came to his rescue. No, I never really understood why he just randomly joined Rollins when he was brought up to the main roster. I mean, you could argue why was he aligned with Andrade in that in the first place, but I didn't mind when they first brought him up and he was part of that sort of stable that Selena was building. But it was when they kind of just sort of petered out and was like, well, they don't like you now, so Rollins will just adopt you. Or was it that way around? I can't even remember anymore. That's how much I cared. No, it was that way around, wasn't it? Who knows?
He ended up a disciple for a bit and then disappeared. as all of Rollins' disciples did, actually.
True.
Anyway, slight digression. So we'll have to move into the O'Shites, I'm afraid, Carl, and you have the first one.
So, as I was saying, Austin Theory might be a highlight, but the fucking egg, on the other hand, the whole thing is embarrassing, isn't it? Right? WWE at this point are just pathetic. Tie-ins with movies, with now let's put zombies in matches. Tie-ins with movies where, oh look, it's an egg from a movie that we're just promoting, so we need to feature it on the show and build a storyline around it. Really? This is pathetic. It is horrendous. I can't believe anybody is looking at this going, this is a great idea.
We'd have probably mentioned it in the Survivor Series bit, but I'll mention it here. I think you made the joke, it's on our social media, but it's so tone deaf to suggest that he's paid for a solid gold egg or whatever the fuck it was at a time when he's released a fucking ton of people. It's are you really that unaware of yourself?
Well, I mean, apparently it was $1 million gift from The Rock, wasn't it? So it cost. What was it? What is it? Even more than $1 million? It's a cost.
Even
that
pisses me off. Why was it an egg? Make it a rock.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's because it's the egg from Red Notice, the movie that's premiering on Netflix, the biggest grossing opening movie ever.
I don't think it did anyway.
So yeah, I haven't seen the movie.
Maybe I've seen the movie. I'm confident it didn't look like it, but I've also been ill, so could be wrong.
So
anyway,
yeah.
So the egg's stupid.
The egg is stupid. That is basically
you can't get The Rock, but he will send gifts and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, slight sidebar as well, but the fact that Impact were able to get more screen time from The Rock this year than WWE says it all.
Well, he'll send them an egg.
So yeah, that's a no shite. Next one.
Well, I'm hoping you'll agree with this one, Carl. But Dana Brooke, and honestly, it wasn't even the fact that, spoilers, she became a 24/7 champ. It's the fact that of the way they handled it in some ways, right? So a few things have pissed me off, Carl. I'll list them off real quick. So Reggie comes out to have a match with Cedric because we still have to have booked matches for the 24/7 title, even though it's constantly on the line. Cedric wins, and then for all of 5 seconds, because everyone comes out to storm Cedric, as you do. Dana comes off the turnbuckle, surprises him, gets the pin, gets the belt, and then everyone who was coming down to rush Cedric just kind of stops because we're not going to attack a girl, because we still do that kind of stuff in WWE. Unexplained, able to leave to the back with no problem at all. Rubbish backstage interview with Dana because she's seized an opportunity or created an opportunity and seized the championship or whatever. Not really a lot said, because she just pointed out what had just happened, and what it's not like. I don't know why I'm bugged by it, but the fact she said that she created an opportunity, you created fuck all. You had the same opportunity as every fucker running to that ring. The opportunity is constantly there. That's the point of the belt. Anyway, so rubbish promo and a rubbish concept. And again, I wouldn't be bugged by the concept of Dana winning the belt. It's the fact that no one tried anything. And this bugs me with the 24/7 title anyway. You get a couple of pins and then that's it. Everyone else just gives up until the next opportunity. But it's meant to always be on the line. And I get it, because there'd never be an end to it if you did it this way. But this is why the belt doesn't work. Otherwise, no one in that ring would stop. It'd just constantly happen.
Well, exactly.
Why would you stop?
I think they came out with some really hard to believe rule, wasn't it? Which people can't challenge for it when it's in a sanctioned match or something. And that's how they're able to have sanctioned matches, because otherwise they just come, there's no running away from it because they're in a match, so everyone will just come down and try and pin each other every time there's a match.
But this is the fuck up, because the minute the match is over, it's not a sanctioned match, so then everyone can carry on.
Well, exactly. So they'd all just be waiting by the ring at least, right? You know what I mean? It's just let's run down. An
official lumberjack match, that'd make a bit more sense.
Yeah, the whole thing's pathetic. But still, Dana Brooke a better champion than Reggie, so there you go.
Again, that's another little bit that pisses me off, though, that Reggie couldn't even eat the pin from Dana. It had to be Cedric. Why are we protecting Reggie so much?
I don't know. He's the fucking biggest waste of space on the whole show. I can't stand the guy. He's pointless. He is pointless. But yeah, the whole 24/7 title's pointless to your points. It just needs to go now. It's never been successful. It's an ugly-ass
belt as well, let's be honest.
Horrendous. The worst. It's nearly as bad as the Intercontinental title.
Oh, savage.
Hurts me that, though.
I would sooner have the new shaped IC title than the 24/7 one,
Yeah, no, I think I would, but I'm just, yeah.
The 24/7 title looks like something I would make at home. It's like, I'd be like, no, I'll just make a perfect circle because I'm not good with angles, so that it's just going to be, that kind of thing.
Creative. And then, I can't bother printing anything on these side plates, so we'll just make them gold and empty. Okay.
Yeah. Custom side plate? Nah, there's no point.
Yeah. But you still want side plates? Yeah, I guess. Okay. Anything on them? Nope. Okay. So yeah, that was a load of shit. So the next one for me. So we mentioned that Damian Priest and Sami Zayn had a really good match, and they did. But do you know what? Didn't make any fucking sense. Is Apollo Crews coming out to the open challenge that Damian Priest had set and going, I want the belt, but I'm not going to accept your open challenge. Okay? Like, if you want the belt, he's literally saying...
I want the belt, but I want it on my turn. It's like, what?
He's literally there saying, I want to fight someone now. And he's like, well, I want the belt, but I'm not going to fight you now. Well, right.
Get the fuck out the ring then.
Exactly. So that whole thing just didn't make any fucking sense to me. But at least we got Sami Zayn versus Priest.
And then Commander Aziz is still a thing.
He's still a thing. And yeah, he's not like African, is he? So is he doing an accent?
I don't even know. Like,
I don't get it.
I'm actually, not to digress, but the more I see of like these sort of characters they've put no time into, I'm just like, do I look forward to the new WWE game or not? I can't wait to play as Commander Aziz and Apollo.
Well, no, it's just
Cedric.
Like 10 Romans, like with just all his different T-shirts.
A Roman Rumble.
It's the biggest roster they've ever had, believe it or not. It's just the same characters in there a million times.
Roman with 100 different attires.
Yeah,
gold glove, shield attire.
Yeah. So yeah, this was a no shite for me. Next one, Anthony.
Where are we up to? So, just the finish to Raw as a whole, like the entire sort of thing was a clusterfuck. Like, I'm not even sure how I feel about like. Let's start with the fact that the match was Big E and Austin Theory. I don't know how you feel about that because you gave Austin Theory some props at the beginning. And I'm not so much bothered. Like, I don't mind when a champion has a match against someone who is obviously not going to win. Like, sometimes that's just to make them look dominant or whatever, And the match wasn't bad, but the way Austin earned the match was kind of stupid. Because he was the one who stole the egg, but apparently that earns him some credit with Vince or something. I'm not quite sure what happened there. And the fact that just everything just turned into a clusterfuck, there was just way too much going on. Like, Rollins is there because he has got a guaranteed shot eventually or something. And you're like, what's actually happened? Why is Kevin Owens here now? What's going on?
Yeah.
Like, it was just
it felt
too
for
much,
me
too messy.
It felt like that Mickie James match where, it was so disrespectful because they weren't focused what was happening in the ring. It was about the little sideshow, outside of it.
Perfect,
and I think, right, Austin Theory was going to lose, obviously. And to your point, I don't mind knowing that someone's going to lose, but what's the point in even putting the match on if you're not going to even concentrate on the match at all because it's all about the other stuff? Like, it just felt like a waste of time.
What annoyed me as well is, like, Big E needs matches like this. As far as I'm concerned, they need to build Big E as a credible threat. Like, when he goes into Survivor Series, which we'll talk about, which has already happened, but you need to actually believe for a second that he might win, right? Yeah. Even if we know it's not going to happen, and you can only do that by building them up. Like, what better to build them up than give him a match against somebody like Austin, who he can just tear through? Because it's not going to damage Austin yet. He's still an up and comer, and it's just a way of making Big E look like a badass, and he didn't even execute that properly.
No. Yeah, it was a mess. I think clusterfuck is the perfect way to describe it. What a shit ending to Raw.
Indeed.
So the next shite to talk about, a Thanksgiving leftovers match, Anthony. Have you ever fucking heard of a match so lazy in your entire fucking time watching wrestling? Like, what even was this? It played literally. They had a Thanksgiving leftovers match, right? Because the next segment they wanted Charlotte to pie someone. That's the only reason this match happened. It had fuck all to do with the match. The people in the match didn't really do anything except one of them went through a table. But even that wasn't to do with the Thanksgiving leftovers. It was literally a match set up to preface the fact that Charlotte was going to slap someone with a pie, and they had to have an explanation for why there was a pie there. Are you shitting me?
It's I take your point. I'm honestly, like, since you mentioned it, I've been pondering whether we've actually had anything as lazy as that, like you say. I'm sure we have. I'm trying to think of a worse concept as well, but yeah, just very lazy booking.
It's like
and like
we've
you said,
had
we've got
themed
that.
matches.
That's what we've got. That's our bit, and we want to work a way of getting there. And yeah, fuck it, let's just do a Thanksgiving leftovers match.
Yeah, it was horrendous. The whole thing was just pathetic. So that's a no shite from me.
In a world where we've seen various things on a pole match, like we should easily list one of them as a ridiculous match. But no, let's go with this shit.
Yeah, pathetic.
Yeah. So my next no shite, Carl, is not so much a no shite, it's a question, but a no shite. So is Sasha a face now?
She's the fucking Big Show of the women's division, isn't she? It's pathetic.
She really, really is. How often are they doing this shit? Like, I'm fairly certain that they're making a face now, right?
Like, is it just going to come out that she's got bipolar disorder or something? Because literally, it's every other week she flip flops. It's insane.
You can only tell by what hair colour she is.
Well, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, not to be insensitive and all that, but I don't get it. Why can't they stick with something? It made no sense now why they've turned her face again, and now they've aligned her with Naomi and put her as part of this what's her face Sonya Deville angle. Like, my God.
This is the thing. Like, I don't think we've had enough time because she turned heel, and then we haven't really seen a lot of her. In all fairness, she's sort of not been involved in a lot of matches since then. That would be like turning Bayley like face.
Yeah.
Like, for the amount we've seen Bayley lately as a heel, it would be kind of not impactful. And this is exactly what they seem to have done with Sasha. It's like, we need something, so we'll do that, and we don't care what you wear. This is what you're going to be. So yeah, I don't even think it's so much about the amount of time she's been a heel. It's the amount of like screen time we've had with her as a heel.
Yeah, it's like they brought her back for the Bianca thing. It was like, well, we can't have her bring her back and be a face, so we'll bring her back as a heel. But now Bianca's gone. We haven't really got that many faces. Who have we got? Shayna, but maybe we'll do something with Shayna and that. Yeah, we'll turn her face now. That's how lazy it was. Just complete laziness, throughout the whole fucking company at this point. So yeah, so that's why that's a no shite. I get that. The next no shite that I want to talk about, Anthony, is the final no shite for WWE this week. It's the fucking Battle Royal, right? So Drew McIntyre doesn't get picked for the Battle Royal. For some reason, they print out like a fucking school play, a list, and put it up on a wall of everyone who's made the fucking Battle Royal. They all go over and look at it, and Drew's there, and Sheamus is like, no, you're not on the list. And so what does Drew do? He comes down with a sword and literally tries to decapitate people, because that's okay. He needs to really lose this sword thing, because it's starting to piss me off now. And the biggest Drew mark going.
I love bits like this because I always remember that it's the same two people, kayfabe wise, who are running both shows, and the fact that Adam Pearce suspended Brock, and has done fuck all to Drew just amuses the fuck out of me.
He literally came out wielding a sword, held up the show and everything. And Adam Pearce is just like, no, and then we cut to commercial break. We come back, and Drew's just gone. Well, this doesn't continue. So, he left of his own accord in the commercial break. Oh,
Brock was
why
just there
show
watching
it?
that like, what are the rules? Because like, how can you not get suspended for that?
This is the same company that like didn't bat an eye when Randy Orton set someone on fire.
That is a good point. That is a really good.
But
Didn't
then
they in the same week
they suspended someone. Yeah, they suspended Braun for like, pushing someone or something like ridiculous. So yeah,
wasn't it when because it was leading to a match with Shane, wasn't it? So wasn't it like for the Shane match that he got suspended for pushing Shane or something?
I have no idea, but like, you know what I mean. There's just no consistency with anything they do, is there? But yeah, so this whole thing was a joke. I feel bad on Drew because they're just ruining him. They need to sack off fucking Angela the Sword. Like, are you shitting me? That needs to go.
Angela
just needs to.
I may have gapped this, but have they literally called the sword Angela?
They've called the sword Angela. Of course,
that's a shit sword name.
Well, exactly. So yeah,
like, they need to go to Game of Thrones to learn some sword names. Rather than call like Longclaw or some shit,
Well, exactly. So yeah, Big D. So yeah, but obviously Sami Zayn
come out swinging his Big D. That's not good.
I mean, that's what the metaphor's all about. So let's be honest. But yeah, Sami Zayn ends up winning it. Yay, I guess. And then, he's having his big moment. And conspiracy, it's then announced that Brock sets a return. And it cuts to Paul Heyman. Well, it cuts to Adam Pearce. And he's like, what? And it's like, well, who's making the fucking decision then? What do you do? Right? So that aside, it then cuts back to Roman and fucking Paul Heyman and stuff. And they're just like... And that's how it ends the show. Little
Naturally.
Shite. So yeah, Raw, SmackDown. I mean, NXT's not even on it. I didn't watch it. I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't watch it. I don't know whether you caught it. I know you've been like up in bed, but
again, I'm still in a similar position with NXT. I don't really want to put it in the highlights or shites column because they totally reshook it and there's not a lot that's drawing me in at the moment. And I'm not being disrespectful. Like, I could come out every week and go, oh, Toxic Attraction seems to be a plus because they're doing well and I'm hopeful about Bron Breakker, but there's no point in repeating myself. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's the
right
same every
now,
week.
that's the thing. Right now, there's not a lot of, they're still establishing, so there's not a lot I can get annoyed about. Not that I'm trying to get annoyed, but there's not a lot that irks me over the show to be an shite, and there's not a lot that I have to call a highlight because they're sticking to the formula for the most at the minute. And that's not a bad thing. It's just it's total rebrand, which you can either like or not. It's changed some things, and there's not a lot I can say about it at the moment. And until I can, I don't think it's right to look for something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I can say something about. WWE this week gets a 1. It was awful.
That was savage, Carl. Absolutely savage.
Awful.
I'm going to be a little bit kinder. I'm going to give it a 2.
Seriously? For that fucking shit show? Them 2 shows were awful. They were awful.
Yeah, but there was 2 of them. Get a point each.
Exactly. Half a point, if that. I mean, SmackDown, there was not even a single highlight on SmackDown. It was redundant. And SmackDown's usually been the better show. It was
I'll give you that.
shit.
I'll give you that. But like I'm giving it a 2 just because there were some solid matches there, and there were some elements, like you say. Like, I think they're handling Damien well. For instance, Sami Zayn seems to be getting some decent airtime. As much as the main event for Raw was a bit of a clusterfuck, I'm always happy to see Kevin Owens getting involved in the right place. There's a few elements I can pick from it that I like, and therefore I'm gonna go slightly higher with a 2. It was still awful, but there's some things I can pick from there.
Well, yeah, a number 2 makes sense in a lot of ways. So let's talk AEW, shall we? Let's flip the script a little. So MJF CM Punk promo was awesome. It was awesome. This is what I've been craving since we very first teased this. The promo battle, right? So out of character as well, by the way, for AEW to open the show with a long-ass promo. But it was fucking brilliant. So you can't complain. Absolute shots fired from the pair of them. No holding back. So, yeah, completely into it. I can't wait. But at the same time, where'd you go? I legit don't know what I want because, do you have CM Punk lose this early and to MJF?
I mean,
but you can't have MJF lose, surely. So I don't know. But that's great because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know. Like you said, I don't know how they're going to execute it. I'm probably a little bit up and down how I want them to execute it. I think the best way out is for MJF to take the win, but with typical heel tactics.
Mm. Yeah.
Because it'll
Similar
buy
to
into
Darby.
the whole thing of like he'll probably not want to. Do you know what I mean? He'll probably want to win legitimately because CM Punk essentially has called him on needing backup, needing people like Wardlow and stuff. But I don't know. For me, it's like it'd be one of them things where he's trying not to, but ultimately has. Similar to the Jericho situation where Jericho couldn't use his finisher. I think it was his finisher. Was it the Judas Effect he couldn't use on MJF? He had an opportunity when the ref was down and chose not to. I think it'll be a similar. Well, I want it to be a similar thing, but MJF will choose to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he'll try and win it legit, but can't. So he'll have to be pushed to that point that he doesn't.
Yeah, I think they'll end up going
quite a victory.
Yeah, I can see it going one or two ways, like that as you described, or the fact that CM Punk does make MJF try and man up and not have the backup and not use the dynamite ring and all this kind of stuff, and then basically psychs him out to the point where, he basically MJF wasn't being true MJF, and if he was, and he was a heel, then he could have beat him, kind of thing. So,
I mean, they could even go down the avenue of like he goads MJF into it, like you say, and then he uses those sort of tactics and turns heel.
Yeah, but I mean, that in itself is fantastic, innit? You don't know where it's going to go. It's not predictable, and it was brilliant. There there was some serious stuff that was said and
You know what
fired,
bugs
didn't it?
me though? Like, we'll talk a bit more on like what was said, but like, I just want to address the not the elephants in the room per se, but like people who don't want to like this, who don't want to like AEW, straight away jump on the fact that it's like, does he reference WWE? Now, I just want to mention that before we talk more about the promo, because how can you not? Punk hasn't done much in AEW yet, and his career was WWE.
Yeah.
So how can you say anything about Punk and not reference WWE? And it bugs me that people think that you're not allowed to mention them at all. Imagine how shit the promo would be if you weren't allowed to mention anything.
Yeah, the thing is, WWE mention AEW all the time. They literally had Sami Zayn say AEW on bloody telly. Yeah. They had, Edge on the Raw that we haven't spoken about this week talking about it.
But you see, this is the thing I like, because MJF and Punk have done this, right? And I'm sure they let Liv cut a promo that alluded to, and they let Edge cut a promo that directly referenced. And I think that's fine. I'm all for WWE do it and AEW do it. If it feeds into the promo, like Edge weren't having a go. He mentioned something that would get under MJF, under kind of relevant in the promo, under the Miz's skin. And that makes sense. That's what you should do. And I think the more that you leave that sort of avenue open to talk about what's going on, then the better. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I hate the way that people try and like it's like it's a negative that they have to bring up WWE. It's not. It's definitely not. He was talking about Punk's career. It's not like they went into what's currently happening in WWE or anything like that. They were talking about Punk's history.
Yeah.
So it just makes sense.
It does make sense.
And let's face it, the fans have made a comparison to MJF and The Miz, so why wouldn't Punk?
Well, that's it. I mean, it's absolute character assassination, wasn't it? And like MJF played it brilliantly as well in terms of how he was like, "What the fuck?" Like in terms of how offended he got by it and stuff like that. But I think it was the right level of like promo battle. I think I know a couple of people have been against Punk, kind of his rebuttal, and said like it should have just been the MJF show, but I still think it was. So I think MJF said a lot more, but Punk managed to just, drop a few big punches in there as well. So it's one of those. I think it was right.
I agree. Like I think Punk was trying to come at him almost condescendingly, like starting out like, "I'm so disappointed in you," like he's like his father almost, right? I really liked the way Punk approached it. I liked the fact there was a back and forth. It had just been one-sided. It had been shit, to be honest with you. Yeah. But one of the main highlights, for instance, I take from it, and it's so silly, really, and it's not even a big part of the promo, but the reference to both of their catchphrases when MJF got in his face and said, "You're the best in the world, but I'm better than you, and you know it." Love that. That was perfect.
Like, yeah, that is so good, really, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, because like it just writes itself. It's fantastic. I loved so much about it, really. To be perfectly honest, I loved the Cena stuff because it's so true, isn't it? Punk has come back, and he is PG Punk. He's not the bad. I think we spoke about this at length in WWE. He was held down, and he was trying to become he's come into AEW as the guy, and now he's there, just going like fucking kissing babies and jumping into the crowd and all this kind of stuff. He is PG Punk. It is the John Cena effect.
That's the funny thing, like because we were often curious how Punk would play in AEW because he can't be bitter Punk. Like you say, he's the man. He's gone in there and been able to pick whatever match he wants, essentially, and do what he wanted to give everyone in the arena an ice cream, and did because he could. That's stuff that the guy can do, isn't it? You know what I mean? So it was totally on the money. Totally on the money.
It was, and I think that's what I love is the characters are so well rounded and fleshed out in AEW. It all makes sense why they say the things they say. So yeah, I just thought it was fantastic. I'm going to go on record now and say it wasn't the best promo ever and all this kind of stuff. Some people are proper over egging it, but it was fucking great. I don't want to take nothing away from it.
Over egging it, yeah.
But yeah, like people are literally saying like it's the best thing that's ever happened in wrestling and all that. No,
yeah, they need to calm down on that. Like in all honesty, like in terms of iconic, like the pipe bomb still beats it. Really, do you know what I mean? But it was fantastic for their feud starting out.
Yeah. Oh, it was amazing. It was everything that every fan ever wanted. As soon as them two got in the ring and CM Punk elected not to say a word and walked out, it was like, oh, we need to see this, and we saw it, and hopefully we get to see a few more rounds of the battle as well. Because
I must admit though, I'm not a big fan of the terminology of "on the stick." That kind of bugs me.
Yeah.
But whatever. It's their like sort of, in the know kind of terminology between each other, but it just kind of bugs me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like calling people heels because that's a part of your foot. But it's just
I like calling them faces because that's part of your face.
yeah. So I don't think we can argue. Absolute highlights, probably highlight of the week. So excellent. Next highlight,
Agreed.
Anthony.
For me, Carl, and it'll be no surprise to anyone because I'm a massive mark. Thunder Rosa versus Jamie Hayter.
Mm-hmm.
What a great match from these two, and again, no surprise for anyone because I'm a massive mark. It was definitely the right choice to have Thunder go over.
No, it was. It's a nice little kind of brawl between these two, and I think it shows how far the women's division is coming as well. It continues to grow. Is having two talented females like this put on a really strong, just solid match. It didn't feel like there was loads of mistakes being made and it was clumsy and anything like that. It was just two pros going out there kicking ass, and it was great. It was great doing it, and Thunder's gone through, and that's what we wanted. So,
damn right.
Although big props to Jamie Hayter, British and all that, isn't she?
He's gonna hate.
So the next highlight to talk about, Bryan Danielson versus Colt Cabana, man. This was a fucking banger.
I didn't want to give you this. I have to agree, but I didn't want to agree. I just want to say that.
He kicked his fucking tooth out, man. Like,
no, mostly because it was Cabana. I just don't. There's something about Cabana I'm not a fan of, right?
Boom, boom. Colt Cabana. Boom, boom.
But I can't deny anything about what you're going to say. So I've had it.
Nah. I like Colt. I mean, I'm still waiting for the time when they have CM Punk and Colt Cabana in the ring together because we know there's some serious real life beef going on there. So that writes itself.
You owe me money. No, I don't. That's pretty much what it's going to be.
Basically. For no, like legit, I'm loving what they're doing with Danielson. I think ahead of Full Gear, I was saying to you, wasn't I? Like, I don't know how they're going to do this because they can't have Hangman have his first title defense against the face, and then Bryan Danielson winning it. I was like, and so him having that heel turn, loads of people were against it, saying it came out of nowhere. I don't think it is. Yeah, I think it is. It's valid. It makes sense, and I like the way he's going through one by one, like dismembering members of the Dark Order. So yeah, it keeps Danielson busy without having like an immediate rematch. It allows him to build the story and build the feud over a long portion of time. This was WWE, again, not being like NWA because I'm not. But if this was WWE, it'd be, well, they won the match on Full Gear, so he's got the title opportunity on Raw. And you just fucking give that match away straight away. So yeah, I like the fact that it's a slow build to it, but it's keeping their feud going and making Danielson look like an asshole at the same time. So big fan.
Yeah, well, my highlight actually bleeds into that, Carl, because you're totally right about Danielson is an excellent heel. In all fairness, he plays his character so well. He did a post-match promo, which was, again, it was excellent too. I think it's so impressive that he can turn heel on the fucking head of a pin. Like, it's seamless because it's basically like he's the same asshole through and through, and sometimes you agree with what he's saying and sometimes you don't. That's how it feels, do you know what I mean? Like, I was on board with Daniel until he said bad things about Adam Page. Adam Page? That didn't feel right. Just because I didn't throw Cowboy in there, I feel wrong. And it's just like that. Like, all he's really done is go, I don't respect you, and like I should be fighting someone like Omega, and I'm like, how dare he? And now I don't like him. It's fantastic. He just did it so seamlessly that he's a fucking heel, and then he just leans into it heavier and heavier. It's fantastic. And again, this post-match promo was fantastic. The cowboy. That game doesn't feel right. Why can't I say his name right today, Carl?
Just call him Hangman. Just call him Hangman.
Hangman came out and obviously offered. This is his sort of first hit, as it were. And again, the exchange was explosive. It was fantastic. So 2 highlights for Danielson this week. In all fairness,
fair play to the guy. I think the fact he's able to be so over as a good guy and so fucking hated as a bad guy is phenomenal. And the fact that he's done it under different guises all the time, like the Planet's Champion stuff, the stuff where he was like Team No and things like that. Like, it's all very different. And now this is very much a seasoned vet who is an ass kicker who's going to kick your head in. And he basically just doesn't respect the champ. And it's like, this is fantastic. So, yeah. I agree with everything you said. Loving it. Speaking of loving it, I didn't love this, but I thought it was really good. The main event right? Who knew making the match from Full Gear, a 4v4, would improve it so much. I genuinely loved it. There was loads of nice bits throughout the whole match. Like the fans turning on Cody though is still a bit. So obviously he took his weight belt off and threw it into the audience, and then they threw it back at him and stuff like that. And it's just like I don't know. Read the signs, guys. Like please.
This is the funny. Like I saw a thing, right? Not to jump on, but just in relation to that, like there's people, and I'm not getting at anyone when I say this, but there's people who are like, oh no, he's he's great for the business. He's got such a passion for the business. Like I appreciate what he does, and it's like I don't think they get like it's not. This isn't the fans not appreciating what Cody does. It's the fact that they're not willing to play a heel. Like there's been heels who are beloved. That's what I don't get. People booing him isn't like not loving. Hell, like Kurt Angle is like people chant "you suck" as a term of endearment now because they loved him as a heel. This isn't. It's not a problem like with Cody or what Cody does for the business. He's amazing. No. It's the fact that he needs to be a fucking heel.
Yeah, I mean. It's a Cena comparison, isn't it? Except he's just not as over with the younger audience as Cena was. Like, everybody loves John Cena, but they just were so tired of his shtick, they wanted him to turn heel and have something fresh. And I think with Cody, he did a fantastic job of being a good guy in, like, the first year of AEW. You know, that I still, to this day, think that fucking, you know, going from undesirable to goddamn undeniable promo that he did was incredible. He had I was so invested in him in year one of AEW. I thought, wow, this guy is another level to when I remember him in WWE. And I don't know what's happened. He's just plateaued and just gone down and down and down as a character, not as Cody. Cody's awesome.
I agree. That's why I always try and make that distinction between wrestler and character and person.
Yeah.
Because there is a world of difference. Cody is like he seems like a really amazing guy when you see him in backstage interviews or off the cuff, all that kind of stuff. You know what he's done for the business and what he continues to do for the business is amazing. But the character on screen, definitely unlikable.
Yeah, it just I don't know. It comes across that character comes across in a way that does rub people the wrong way, doesn't it? It's whether it's egotistical, whether it's he's too goody-goody, whatever it is, people look at him and go, don't like that guy, which is cool. Just be a heel then, and then everyone will love him off screen as they do anyway. But I
mean, I've kind of got a theory though. I think it all started taking a downturn when he got the neck tattoo. I think he needs to get another tattoo to balance it out or something.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of people did just instantly, like a fucking switch was flipped when they saw it and was like, oh, that looks stupid, I hate the guy now. And it's like, all right, it's only a neck tattoo. Damn. Like, chill out. But yeah, so good match all in all. Vastly improved over the Fatal 4-Way at Full Gear by making it a 4v4 match, I think. So, and the heels won. Nice little bits with Arn and Tully as well, which I thought was a nice little touch. So, yeah, we are going to see. This actually happened yesterday. We're going to see Cody take on Andrade again. Dynamite, and I believe it's a doozy, so let's see how that one unfolded. But yeah, main event, boss.
So my next one, Calm, I'd be curious to know whether you're a fan of the result of, but the highlight goes to Brit Baker versus Rio.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a really good match overall, but I was actually quite pleased with the surprising result, being that Rio sort of took the win, and now gets a title shot. And the fact that she won clean. I think this is it's not what I was expecting, but that's huge. It's awesome. And it's one of these things where you go, well, someone could take a loss and it doesn't affect, like, this isn't going to harm Brit or her progression. And it obviously just sort of prolongs her sort of ascension to the main women's title. But I don't know how you feel about the results, but I think this was the right call.
I don't mind Brit losing. I think it's how she lost, and I could even accept a clean loss, to be honest, but I think it was just too clean of a loss. Like, something should have happened where,
really?
Like she, I don't know, took the turnbuckle off or something and was gonna throw Rio into it, but something happened and she accidentally, Rebel took the turnbuckle off or something, and it was someone else's fault. But then she still lost, like, relatively clean. But I think it was just, I don't know. Like,
I think some of it falls down to the fact that, like, and this is no offense when I say this to Rio, I think AEW gives Rio a lot more respect than I think the American fans have for her yet. If that makes sense. Like, she's huge in Japan, but I don't think the American audience have quite got that with her yet. You know what I mean? So like, they probably felt that was the right call in a lot of ways, and I don't think it was a bad thing by any means. But I think I don't think we've been ingratiated by her enough yet to go, well, like, she totally could have done that realistically. I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, I don't even think it's that. Like, I believe she could beat her clean. I just didn't like the fact that she beat her so clean. I think, you know, at the end of the day, she was the first women's champ in AEW. Like, she's got the legitimacy. She's beat the likes of Nyla Rose and thrown her around and stuff like that. So, you know, it's believable that she could beat Brit.
This was so clean. She might as well have been Omega.
But yeah, it was just like, I don't know, it just kind of came out of nowhere. It was just a straightforward pin, and then Brit was a bit. I like Brit's reaction and stuff. Like, no, like, you know, I wasn't like, I wasn't ready or whatever. Like, all that was good.
It feels a little bit in between. Are we calling this a high shite?
Well, no, because it was surprising. So I was a bit like, but then I was a bit like, oh, at the same time. So it's still a highlight, I think.
No light.
Slightly dim highlight. So the next one to talk about was the main event of Rampage. Eddie Kingston, Daniel Garcia. Just an absolute slugfest. You know, how can you not love Eddie Kingston?
I did not see a single slug. You liar.
Sorry, a snail fest. But no, like, you know, Danny Garcia's had a hell of a year. You know, the amount of people he's been able to face. Danny Garcia's had a hell of a year. You can see how good he is. It's really clear. Anyway.
Right, Max.
Throw coffee in Kingston's face, feel the fear. Anyway. Yeah, it's like, you know, the little build-up that they did for this as well. Like, I'm loving the little Eddie Kingston stuff where they just find him backstage and interrupt him, and he's in the middle of doing something. Like, this time he was eating some cake or something. And like, they're there going, "You're just not hungry for this anymore." And he was like, "I want this cake." And I was just absolutely popped me, because I was just like, that's so funny. But yeah, like, the match itself was good, and it gave Kingston a win over, you know, a guy who is fast, kind of rising in the ranks. Even though he doesn't win that many, the caliber he's up against is really good. So I think Kingston needed a win. He's lost far too much. So all in all, great match. Interesting, Jericho coming out to make the save afterwards. So I don't know what this means to an unlikely kind of partner for Kingston. Obviously, Moxley's unavailable at the moment. So
I'm working on a theory with Jericho. Right, I think they've cloned him. Because in this past few weeks, I've seen things where he's on the Jericho cruise, which is, okay, you could argue is old now because the cruise is done. But you see him on AEW, then he's in London, then he's somehow in Liverpool, like, and that journey's not small. You know what I mean?
It's in Scotland
like,
today.
This guy's getting fucking everywhere, man. Like, there must be more than one of them.
Maybe. I mean, we did see that in one of his entrances, actually. Yeah, remember where it was just all the different Jerichos.
It's a good point.
So yeah, there is.
Joking aside though, like, he's obviously not cloned, but his travel schedule must be insane.
Yeah, don't know how he does it with that guy, but interesting though that they're putting Kingston and Jericho together. It's not a pairing I expected, so let's see how that one unfolds going forward. But great main event. Indeed.
So moving on to the O'Shites then, Carl. And I feel like bad for being the one to bring this up. So I'm hoping you agree with me, because it
surprisingly I do.
That you keep, it feeds into this rumor you keep putting out there that I don't like Darby Allin.
Rumor,
but not a fan of this whole Darby Billy Gunn stuff.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, and I don't know what it is. I'm not really a fan of the Billy Gunn stuff at all. Like, Billy Gunn in AEW just hasn't worked for me. No offense to him.
Yeah,
like, he's a legend. That's cool, but.
Yeah, I don't really understand why he's involved in matches and stuff. Like, obviously he's the head trainer and things, and if he pops up in a battle royal every now and again, that's cool. But to have him, like, you know, two weeks in a row being actually featured quite heavily, and I get it, like, the Gun Club are undefeated and Sting and Darby are undefeated. So let's do that. But
why is his two sons not a tag team called the Young Guns? That pisses me off as well.
Because they've already got the Young Bucks. There's too many young things going on.
Well, that could have been a feud right there.
It's like you have the Heartbreak Kid, Sexy Boy, and Shawn Michaels, and you look at him and he's like fucking Old Man Marley from Home Alone, and you're like, what? Doesn't make any sense.
That's why he can't come out to his own theme music anymore. If you notice, he comes down to nothing now.
Yeah. But no, surprisingly, I agree with you. I'm a big Darby Allin mark, but I just don't get this. I don't get what it's doing for him or Sting. It's like, oh, he beat Gun Club. Yay. Like,
Cool.
you know what I mean? He's just come off a loss, albeit he kind of lost unfairly, but he just come off a loss to MJF, and I was like, well, I know how we can bounce back, beating the Gun Club. Yeah, not for me. Could have done something else.
I mean, as a side note, like, Billy Gunn, for his age, like, he's still a monster of a man.
Oh, yeah. Billy's boss. Billy's a legend.
I wouldn't fucking argue with him.
Oh, God, no.
You know, if he's telling me the sky's red, it's fucking red. I'm not gonna be the one who tells him.
That's it. Otherwise, you know what
he tells him, Carl.
Know what he'll make you do. It's 2 words. So the last.
Let's walk away from this topic.
The last shite. I brought this up as something I wasn't interested in the last couple of weeks, and the fact they've actually gone this route has made it even worse for me. Surprisingly, Dante Martin joins Team Taz. Why?
Nobody cares.
Like, Dante Martin is an absolute fucking fantastic in-ring performer. Every time he's in there, I'm blown away by how good he is. Doesn't need this, man. I'm not. He's still part of a tag team technically. Like, his tag team partner's out injured, so it's like, okay, now we put him with Leo Rush for no reason, and then now we're putting him in Team Taz, and it's like, just let the guy just be the guy. I don't get what he's going to get from this.
Yeah, but to be honest, I've always kind of felt like that about Team Taz. Like, what does anyone get from being in Team Taz other than the unofficial belt?
Well, yeah, this is true. Like, it felt a bit weird when Powerhouse Hobbs joined them, didn't it? Let's be honest. And it was kind of like, is this the right thing? It feels
at least
even
with
weirder
that,
now.
Like, it was almost like, because they did that as a swerve, didn't they? Because he came in on the side of Kingston at first, so it was like a betrayal. And you go, I kind of get it, but like, this is even more kind of like, okay, I guess.
Yeah. Which doesn't make any sense, to his character either. Like, he's a baby face through and through. So it doesn't make sense why he's now part of a heel stable. But we'll see.
Indeed.
So yeah, them's be AEW, Anthony. For me this week, I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was solid. The promo was fantastic. Danielson stuff was fantastic. Some really solid matches throughout, really.
Solid matches.
3.5 for me.
I can't disagree at all.
Surprised you haven't given it a fucking 4. You give WWE a 2.
Oh,
2.
3.5.
Fine. So yeah, that was This Week in Wrestling. I didn't get a chance, unfortunately, to watch anything else that happened in the world of wrestling, the other promotions. So apologies for that. But I'll try and catch up
I was just
for next week.
Trying to stop the room from spinning, so I wasn't watching anything else either.
Well, then put down the bottle, Anthony.
Never.
Not well, he says. Quit anytime.
My medicine.
But no. So thank you for joining us for another episode of This Week in Wrestling. Obviously, we've got a very exciting interview that'll be released as well. So if you haven't checked that out, go ahead and check that out. And we'll be back after some lovely words from the one and only Thunder Rosa, talking about all the news. Some of it might be outdated, but some of it has happened recently. So we'll be back after this.
Hey everybody, this is Thunder Rosa, and you're watching or listening A2theK. A2theK.
A2theK.